Being terrified of other people's perception is a weird fear to have. When you feel like someone is reading you up close, your heart rate increases, your cheeks turn red, and you feel like you desperately want to shrink as small as possible. When you're paralyzed with that fear, you are trying to curate every single part of yourself. The way you laugh, the clothes you're wearing, the constant checks to make sure that you are being perceived in the right manner. There's a version of yourself that you created that you only want to be seen as that version. So you work long and hard to make sure that you are fitting that version of yourself that you've created. That fear essentially holds you back. You can't experience anything authentically. You feel as though no one knows you deeply because in this paralysis, that version of you that you've created lacks the essence of what makes you who you are. I know that feeling very well. I grew up with a very strong and deep fear of being perceived. And in the process of basically trying to unlearn that, I have learned a little bit more about this specific fear, and I think I learned the core of what drives it. So today we're going to be talking about that. But before we get further into it, welcome back to Day Mooney. Did you guys like that? I thought it would look cool, but I'm not sure. Today we're trying something very different than usual. Usually I would kind of write a script and read out of the script, though the intro I did read out of the script. But today we're going to try something different. We have a little board we have over here we're gonna take a look at, and we're gonna have little quotes and things that I want you guys to read up here, and we're gonna take a look at that as we speak. I also have very heavily, usually I very much script my videos, but today I think I'm gonna have talking points that I want to say, but generally speaking I'm going to be very spontaneous with this video, if you will. We're gonna try something new. If you guys like it, let me know. As you guys have seen, I don't know if you've noticed, but I did not post a video last week. That's because I was sick, and also it was the Eid holiday, so I was enjoying that time off. But this week we're back, and we're going to talk about something that's very personal to me, which is fear of perception. I have had a very intense fear of perception, again, like I said, since I was really, really young. And I think the core of it, I have discovered. And so I really, really want to talk to you guys about. But I just want to say this, and this is a disclaimer, that just because I have figured out why I act that way I act, and what I think is the core of the specific fear, does not mean that this is the case for everybody. Everyone's experiences are different, everyone's lives are different, and the reasons are different. So hopefully this can help you in your life if you have the same fear as well. But I do not claim to have all of the answers, so I'm just putting it out there before we get started. Also, if you want this podcast to remain audio only, I think it should be fine. I will try to give you guys a bit of a description of the pictures I have up here. So if you want to just listen to this in the background, that's cool. Let's get started. So as you guys can hear, this is a whiteboard, and I have in the middle fear of perception. And the picture I chose for fear of perception is this really cute monkey on a railing, posing with the sea behind him. And it says, your fear of looking stupid is holding you back, or the fear of looking stupid holds you back. And I thought this was a very much of a perfect encapsulation of what I want to talk about today. In the process of me learning a little bit more about myself and trying to get over that fear, I've discovered that the core of it all, and the core of the issue of why we have this deep fear of perception is kind of ultimately leads to control. Yes, and so I put control over here, and the picture on top, it says, is a Venn diagram between two things, which is me and an electron. And the thing they have in common is start behaving differently when observed. I just thought it was really funny. Anyway, typically people who struggle with fear of perception are actually struggling with something more or something deeper, which is control. That's the case for me. That's what I've discovered, is that I have an issue with control. And the reason why people develop need to control is very different. Now, people who have anxiety disorders, OCD, are neurodivergent. That basically leads to you trying to control situations. It also comes from insecurity, whether that is personal insecurity, so you have a lot of insecurities or insecure person, but also can come from something else, which is situational insecurity. So you feel as though you're not safe within your environment, and when you feel that way, you tend to feel the need to control things. For me, I think it stems from being sheltered. I grew up very sheltered. I don't have a lot of experiences of how life should be or how life should look like, and because of that, I developed this insane need to control and also a fear of perception, right? Not only to control, but fear of perception. And the reason why I control things, because I am afraid of being perceived as someone who's sheltered, as someone who's insecure, who does not have a lot of life experiences, who's terrified of everything because I don't know how anything works. I don't want to be perceived as that. I don't want to be perceived like as not normal in like quotations, because I don't think there's anything that's normal. But because of that fear, I feel the need to control the way I'm being perceived. And so when I do that, I want to control the perception. I think of everything, right? Because I'm so terrified of being perceived in a certain way, I start to deeply control myself. So fear of perception at its core is the need to control something, and it's a need to hide something, right? But in its core, it's actually linked to wanting to fit in and wanting to be liked, because the whole fear of perception is that you do not want to be perceived in a way that you do not like. So you don't want to be perceived negatively. You do not want to be perceived as a bad person. You do not want to be perceived as someone who's angry or mean or uncool or sheltered, etc. So you feel the need to control that perception of others, that others have of you, and so you try to curate something, right? Curate yourself. And this need to fit in, I actually noticed, and I have a little thing here, is that something that we all do, and I think we don't do it in extreme length. Some people have very strong deep of perception. I think we all have fear of perception, and we all want to control how we're being perceived. In general, this is just a human thing. But I want to give you guys like a quick example. But this is something that we do quite a bit. It can be social conditioning, right? Because society says that there are specific things that are regular, are normal, are what is considered a normal person. And when you do not fit those social conditioning, you grapple with the fear of perception, because you're like, oh, I don't want people to perceive me as not fitting social standards, right? So you grow this deep need to control how others see you, because you do not want to be to appear as someone who's lacking. It's in its core, it's fear of being perceived for actually who you are. It's kind of horrible, but it's true. But this is something that women struggle with a lot, actually. We are aware of how much we're constantly being judged, and we're judged harshly. And because of that, we are constantly obsessed with keeping check and looking at ourselves and checking ourselves and making sure that we fit the criteria and the standards of what other people tell us is normal. And that is also a fear of being perceived as unnormal. And this is, by the way, not something just women do. Men do that too, where they try to like act in a certain way that is perceived as masculine. They have this deep fearing of being perceived as anything but. I feel like women have been breaking out of that in the past few years, but I saw this quote by Sandra Lee Partke in the work Foucault. I'm not pronouncing it correctly, and I'm really sorry. Femininity and the Modernization of Patriarchal Power. The woman who checks her makeup half a dozen times a day to see if her foundation has caked or her mascara has run, who worries that the wind or the rain may spoil her hairdo, who looks frequently to see if her stockings have bagged at the ankle, or who, feeling fat, monitors everything she eats, has become, just as surely as an inmate of the Panopticon, a self-policing subject, a self-committed to relentless surveillance. This self-surveillance is a form of obedience to the patriarchy. It is also the reflection in women's consciousness of the fact that she is under surveillance in ways that he is not. But whatever else she may become, she is importantly a body designed to please or to excite. Yeah, this is basically a a version of fear of perception. We're afraid of being perceived or judged harshly by society, so we self-surveil, right? Policing our behavior. We do not want to be perceived in a certain way. It's control. It's trying to control as much as possible, and because we're afraid of judgment, we want to control other people's opinions and harsh critique. We are trying to adhere to certain standards. And I saw this quote here, which is, a writer and a woman must learn to live with being disliked. And this is exactly it. We just need to understand that we cannot control anything. We just have to learn that we need to be disliked. We need to be disliked. That's how it works. But I will talk a bit more about that later, right? We're gonna go on to kind of the control part. That's to what hold us back as individuals, is the need to control every single aspect of ourselves. And when we are controlling the way we laugh, the way we talk, the way that we do things, what ends up happening is we don't live authentically anymore, and we put on this mask, right? We're masking, right? We're creating a fake identity that does not necessarily represent who we are, but rather what we think is safe and what we think is right. And this is something, like I said, neurodivergent people suffer from. It's also something that people who have extreme social anxiety suffer from, or people with OCD suffer from, because they're constantly trying to appear in a certain manner, and that drives people insane because it's very, very, very hard. This is the biggest issue with like fear of perception, is like the need to control is so deeply exhausting because you're always putting in a lot of energy, right? And that can drive people insane. Like, genuinely, trust me, it drives you insane. But the fear of perception can look differently, and we're going to talk about how it can look as well. But for now, we're going to talk about control. Right? I was looking up a lot more about control and the need to control. I read a article that puts it in psychology. The need for control is closely linked to the concept of perceived control, which refers to an individual's belief in their ability to influence outcomes. People who strongly seek control often rely on the belief to feel safe and secure. When situations become uncertain, their sense of control is threatened, leading to discomfort and stress. So that's pretty much it. It's when you're in fight or flight mode, you're like, I need to control this. And what happens is, fear of perception, it leads to intense need to control situation. And I saw this quote by Donna Tartt. I think that's how you say her name. I'm not sure. But she said, which I really want to read the book. Oh my God, I really, what is it called? I forgot. I will put it here. I really want to read that book. Really, really want to. But it's always so expensive. It's always expensive. It's so much money. Like, why is it so expensive? I don't get it. But anyway, she said that the idea of losing control is one that fascinates controlled people, such as ourselves, more than anything. And that kind of was, I was like, oh, that's an interesting theory, because I never really thought of it like that, right? Can it be the people who fear perception, need and feel the need to control as much as possible, are acting that way because they feel powerless themselves, right? Being controlled by something, and because of that, they feel the need to control themselves. What they want to do is have agency. They feel like they don't have agency and they want to reclaim it. And maybe that's it. Maybe that's what it is, right? But I thought that was really a beautiful quote, and it made me like, right? But that's the core of it all. It's having expectations, right? It's the expectations of others that drive us to fear being perceived, because those expectations may not be something that we feel we can match. That fear can drive us into a wall. Like, it can drive us into extreme isolation and extreme social surveillance. And it can look like rumination, where when you have a small interaction, which I'm saying this experience, right? I have like a smaller interaction with someone, and the entire time when I get back home, I'm just like, why did I say that? Did I come off weird? Was I laughing at like the wrong thing? Did I say something that's wrong? Did I do this? Did I do that? I'm always like thinking this, that. Like, it's exhausting First of all, it's extremely exhausting, but it's also like it's just something you cannot control, or at least you try. You try to control that. You can't. You want to control everything else. Terrifying to interact with individuals because you can't control who you are, and you want to be authentic, but you can't because you're scared of people seeing for who you are. And so it becomes this constant loop, if you will. You're not free until you have no need to impress anybody, right? That is the only time you're free, is when you let go of the expectations. And as John Didion said, to free us from the expectations of others, to give back to ourselves. There lies the great singular power of self-respect. Now, I made a video about self-respect. You can go check it out. I wanted to talk about the Substack article. This is the title of the Substack article right here. And the writer is just L. I was gonna make a Death Note joke, but I can't think of one right now, so we're just gonna ignore that. And therein lies the fear. What if they see it wrong? What if they take the worst parts of ourselves and make them the whole? What if they take the best and dismiss them as insincere? What if, despite our endless attempts to control, we're doomed to be misunderstood? I do not know how to say her name. I'm gonna say her name in a very Middle Eastern way. And Agnès Nin. Don't know how to say her name properly, right? But she said, well, I really want to read her books, by the way. We do not see things as they are. We see them as we are. I found it so interesting. But basically, her words strike at the heart of this dilemma. People do not see us as we are, but as they are. Their perception of us are shaped by their own fears, biases, and experiences, which means that no matter how much we try to present ourselves in a certain way, we will always be the subject to the lens through which others view the world. But that is the core, right? That is the core of the fear, is that because other people will not see you for who you are, but rather who they are, you don't want to be perceived badly. And that can look at like two things, and two things can also coexist with one another, but usually it's isolation. You hide in home. You try to minimize social interactions as much as possible. You try to not post on social media, not do anything that will put yourself out there. You will hide in your home, try not to interact with anyone as much as possible. The other one is constant and extreme surveillance of the self. Like, you create a fake identity, a fake persona of who you are. You put that persona on, and when sometimes it slips, it's the end of the world for you, right? I have both. I isolate myself, and also when I am interacting with people, I do have a fake persona on, because I'm like, I don't think I know enough or have enough experiences to come off as a regular person. And so it's crazy, but it's true. So you can have both can coexist with one another, but that's typically how it goes. And the key to fixing this issue and the key to learning how to let go is to lose control, right? Lose control. Like they said in the article, I talked to guys about it. It is the need for control is basically just perceived control. The key here is to finally lose control. And in this picture, I have here a monk, a Buddhist monk sitting in the mountains. He's surrounded by the mountains, and it says in neon green, "I don't know, I don't care, and I don't give a fuck." That is the energy we have to carry. Now, of course, it's important to know and to care and to give a fuck about things that are important, but this energy should be held towards your fear of perception, right? I'm not saying this if you're a person, I'm gonna do this horrible act, right? And I'm gonna be like, I don't know, I don't care, and I don't give a fuck. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about other people's perception of you. That energy should be held towards other people's perception of you. I don't know, I don't care, and I don't give a fuck. That doesn't matter. I'm going to exist as who I am as a person, right? Even if that is a negative thing, even if I am perceived negatively, that's fine. That's not my job. I am here to exist in general, right? And there is no such thing as normal. I exist and I look like that, and I'm a person, so that's what all normal look like. Normal is not a standard, right? Anyone is normal. So I don't know, I don't care, and I don't give a fuck about your perception of me. Be authentic, and I'm not gonna try to mask who I am as a person. This does not mean that you can be mean to people and then say, I don't know, I don't care what I don't give a fuck, okay? Let go of the expectations of others, and when you let go of the constant surveillance and policing of yourself, you can actually finally go into this realm of losing control and learning to live with the fact that you cannot control things, and you cannot control people, and you cannot control situations. And whenever you try, you end up just restricting yourself even more. And so it is a relief also, like genuinely a relief to allow people to lose interest in you. Like if someone you like does not like you because you say things that they might not enjoy, or you do things that they might not enjoy, then they're not the people for you. And even if you do like them and that sucks, right? It's sad and you can grieve that, but it doesn't mean that you should police yourself and mask yourself to fit that person's standards, right? So allowing others to lose interest in you, that is freedom. That's freedom. I'm gonna exist as I am, and I don't care what people think. Oh, peak freedom, guys, peak freedom, right? And when I was filming, I was gathering this video, writing the script, whatever, I remembered one of the best songs, Misconstrued by Nemesis. Highly recommend Nemesis. She's a Palestinian singer-songwriter, and her music, I love it. But I remembered her song Misconstrued, which is one of my favorite songs ever. And I feel like this really fits what I'm talking about. Be careful what you write. Be misconstrued and lose the fight. They will assume what's not inside, because that's what they do. This is it, right? This is exactly it. Like, even if you do the things the way people want you to do them, they're not gonna like that. Okay, they're gonna find something wrong. You might do everything perfectly. You might follow all the rules. You might look exactly and act exactly like they want you to, and they still will find ways to misunderstand you. And they'll still find ways to hurt you. And so you need to let go of that. You need to let go of the need to grab onto as much safety as possible, and instead allow yourself to be messy and to live with chaos. And that is terrifying. Trust me, that terrifies me as well. But that's the key. Like, that is the only way to exist. And as John Didion said, what I want to tell you today is not to move into the world where you're alone with yourself and your mantra and your fitness program. Whatever it is that you might use to try to control the world by closing it out, I want to tell you to live in the mess, to throw yourself into the convulsions of the world. I also think is a monk, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he has headphones on, and he's a DJ, and he has a mic, and it says, damn, it's almost like their perception of me is not my responsibility to live up to. That is exactly it. Okay, guys, it's not our responsibility to live up to other people's perceptions. They can have perceptions of you, and that's theirs. And you can have perceptions of them, and that's theirs. Actually, I was talking to my sister about it, and she said that what helped her get over this fear is when she realized that she also judges other people, and she also has perceptions of other people. So she has the same power over other people as other people have over her. And that helped her. But also, sometimes we really, 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 as Korn said on Twitter, be worried about getting judged by the most basic humans ever. It's true. I start feeling the way I'm coming off to some of my relatives, and I'm like, they're the most basic people ever, and why should I care? I don't necessarily like these people that much. Like, why am I so deeply interested in making these people like me? I don't care. As femic, I don't know. It's PHEMIEC on Tumblr, from what I see, right? Identity is a prison. Let yourself respond authentically to each movement as it arrives without being bound to the narrative of who you think you are. The self is a construct. The truth of your existence is ever-changing and infinite, as the universe is ever-changing and infinite. Abandon the stories of your past selves and be present and alive in this very moment. Identity is dead. The self is dead. You are alive. And I love this so much, because this is exactly what I mean. Exist as who you are and as authentically as possible. Be ever changing. Lose control, lose that identity that you created, that's fake identity that you created. You are not the identity because you are a human being. You're not a single stable entity. You're always moving, you're always changing. Like they said, just like the universe, okay? We're not created to be a rigid structure of a human. We are ever changing individuals. And this brings me back finally to the article I just talked about earlier, the Substack article. And she said something in the end I thought was so beautiful, and it's a perfect way to end today's video, which is, to be human is to be misperceived. To be human is to exist as multiplicity, ever-shifting reflection in the eyes of others. And maybe that's not a tragedy. Maybe that's just part of the strange, beautiful, terrifying experience of existence. Beautiful. Beautifully put, honestly. Let's go. Oh, we're back here now, okay? The fear of looking stupid holds you back. If you're constantly worried about how you're coming off and trying to control that, you can't control that. Like, we do not have the ability to control things, right? And that's scary. I understand that, like, people love to think that they're in control of everything. You're not in control. Today, actually, I was watching a TikTok, and they said, I have no access to TikTok again because I just scrolled past it. I think I may have, I'm not sure. But they said something that was really beautiful, is that you cannot control people. You cannot control things. You cannot control situations, but you can control your actions, right? And living as authentically as possible, and I don't like the word authentically because it's kind of weird, but allowing yourself to be perceived badly and to be disliked and to be misconstrued and to be misunderstood, that will allow you to be as free as possible. And in this world, we're facing a lot of constraints as human beings, whether it's societal or it's political or economic. At the very least, we should experience life as us as possible. And it's very hard to do that fully because in the end, we're still humans and we live in a society. Yes, the meme. But we do live in a society, and the degree to which we can experience things authentically is always going to be constrained. We should just allow people to exist as who they are. And humans are different, and they're complex, and they cannot be defined easily. And who you are now is not who you are in a year, and it's not going to be who you are in 2 or 3 or 4. We're ever changing. We cannot control what people think of us. We cannot control their expectations of us. We cannot control any of that. But we can control ourselves, and we can control our ability to live the best life we can. So to let go of fear of perception is to learn to let go of control. At least that's what I've learned in my experience. So I would love to hear from you guys, because I am merely a human being living in this life. I'm not really knowledgeable about everything. So maybe you guys have gone through this earlier than me and have discovered new things that I have not. So I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. I will see you guys in the next one. Also, as usual, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. Please leave me a comment down below, because I love to hear what you guys think. It's genuinely the best part of posting a video, honestly. Like, even if I don't get a lot of views, I get a comment of someone who deeply engaged in the video. I'm so happy. Thank you so much. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time, and bye bye.